So if I were to choose a favorite area of this whole exhibit, it would be this area because it represents this early, unformed time of punk between glam rock, radical queer theater, the Warhol scene, and this emerging underground culture of a slightly younger generation than what we think of the Warhol scene coming out of the late 60s, here in the early 70s, trying to remain connected to that underground and largely queer sensibility, yet do something different. So I would perhaps start over here on the side that we have some Warhol material, just to point out one of the interesting things that emerges through punk is this critique, in a way, of images, of packaging. It's often filled with parody of what a rock star was meant to be in the late 60s as mega rock stars were forming in the late 60s and early 70s. So right away with the Velvet Underground in 67, we have this very iconic cover, which is filled with a kind of queer camp sensibility, a kind of phallic object of the banana, which is also a kind of comedic object where you slip on a banana peel. It's a banana that you can actually peel. There's no other indication of who the band is except for who the band's sort of patron is, Andy Warhol being the brand name for the Velvet Underground and forever associated with the Velvet Underground, even though this is the only album he really produced. And one of the things he did was not really work with sound at all, but he just managed to get the contracts from the MGM label to actually stamp out the albums. So the sound world has not a lot to do with Andy Warhol, but the business contract side was sort of what he was doing, as well as this visual promotion. This is a piece of art, highly rare now. It's very rare to find an intact banana peel. Mostly what you find on the markets in say eBay are these type of things, but even these are extremely rare. Thinking about the translation of this pop art aesthetic into the sound of the Velvet Underground is also interesting, because Lou Reed cut his teeth in basic pop music writing. He was hired by a firm that was producing these cover songs, or sort of a secondary hit machine where they would take a very popular dance song in the early 60s and then redo it, quickly press it, and sell it under a new name, so just capitalizing on pop hits of the day. So he knew how to write these kind of cheesy pop songs, make some money on it. And then, of course, what the Velvet Underground are also known for is their more experimental music. So Lou Reed and John Cale together, John Cale coming from a John Cage, Lamont Young experimentalism in the New York scene, Lou Reed coming from a kind of pop writing sensibility, get together. And this first album shows you both a kind of noisy avant-gardism of the New York experimentalism, but also in songs like Sunday Morning, we get just a really great pop tune. It's got dark lyrics, but it's all the cliches of a kind of 60s pop sound. So it's a great way of combining this disruptive, noisy avant-garde sound with a popism aesthetic, you might call, coming from Andy Warhol.